Okay, here we go. One of the commenters asked about cutting the stump down. And cutting the stump down to where you really need it is hard to do with a saw because you don't want to get in the dirt. And we've cut stumps in our yard as close as we could go to the dirt. And what happens is, after that stump's been sitting there a few years, it works its way up out of the dirt. And if you aren't paying attention to that, your lawnmower will get into that and you can bust a spindle on your lawnmower. That's a bad thing. But like right here, we're working in here with a tractor, and a tractor runs up on that and you feel like you're going to tip over. So it's good to knock them down. Well, anyway, some guys, I've seen videos where guys are using the top of the saw to cut, and they push sawdust or their chips in between the, in between there, so it holds the stump up so it doesn't jam up the saw at the end. I've always just cut with the bottom. It's easy, that way it's not pushing against it. It holds itself through. And if it's a big stump, you stick a wedge in so it doesn't jam up. The trick on that is if you cut way down here like that, you're in the dirt. You don't want to do that. And so find the side where the dirt is the highest. That's where you're going to start. You're going to pick it up just out of the dirt. And we'll do that, and then we'll show you another little trick that I do. I'll whack that. Okay, we got that one nice and close. Sometimes I don't get them that close, and what I'll do next, if I'm too far out of the dirt, I'll take that saw right there, right above your kickback corner, and just bevel that edge. Work around it like that, so I'm throwing the chips away from myself. Another thing you can do is, like right here, it's a little high, you can run it along it like that. Bevel that edge down, and if you should hit it with your lawnmower, it's got a beveled edge to hit. Anyway, you can do that on yard trees, and before you mow over that, bring your lawnmower over to it and see how high your blade runs off of that. Now, if you're in a rocky place, I don't recommend doing that, because one rock can screw up your saw. I tend to make my stumps about this high in a yard, because then I know nobody's going to run up over that thing and bust my mower. And if you want it to be at a place where you can sit, make it up about this high, and you got a place to sit and drink your coffee in the morning. Okay, catch you all later. Thank you. What we got here, I wasn't sure what it was, but after we have it down, I can tell from the wood. That is a dead, dry black oak, and it was on the edge of an opening here where we wanted it down for safety purposes. And if you come over here and look at that stump, that's nice solid wood, and that is dry. And you can see the sapwood and some of the heartwood is rotten right there. But we made a standard opening, 70-degree opening in the front, punched it, and then dogged in, and I rotated the saw, got it to there, and then we swept that out and set a wedge in here to keep it from setting down, and then we just pushed it over then, and it fell real nice. you can see the trouble with your snags like this is that hinge wood is brittle. That just, you can see it pulled apart. The front bent a little bit, but that hinge wood just pulled apart. And these things can be really hazardous because they'll, you go to wedge on them up close here, they'll just lift that hinge apart instead of bending it. But pushed from back here and it went over. But anyway, that's good dry wood. That's ready to go in the barn as soon as we cut her up. Okay, here we have a black cherry stump, and there's the tree that just came off of it. It's fallen over into our woods. This is on the edge of a planting. This was growing out. We didn't want it out here on the edge. And on this one, because it's out on the edge, I'm using the tractor to push these over so I don't have to wedge them, which is really nice. So the variation here is I made my open face as usual, aimed it with the first cut, made the front of the hinge with that, and then I bored through, left plenty of hinge. I had the tractor to push it so I didn't have to, I could leave the hinge plenty thick. And this tree had back weight. You know, it was, the weight on this tree was back this way. You know, it was wanting to tip out. I had the tractor up to it already, pushing on it. And I cut back to right here. Didn't cut out. And now normally on one of these where you're using wedges, you cut out half of the back, stick a wedge in, cut out the other half, put another wedge in, then use two wedges to push it over. But I had the tractor, so what I did is I stopped here, dropped down about 3 inches, and cut under this. You know, made a cut down here. And what that does is the tree standing on the hinge and on this connection in the wood right here. Now that wood will slip. You put pressure on it, that can slip. You use one of these like if you're following a domino, which you know, that comes in real handy sometimes if you need to follow a domino. And you set it up this way so your one that hits this pushes it on over. Anyway, so then I got on the tractor, gave it a push. This wood right here sheared, and then the tractor pushed it over. So that's an interesting little thing you can do. Use it for domino falling, or in this case I had the tractor to push it, and I wanted it to be steady until I got on it with a push, and as I began to push I could feel it go oomph, and it went. So that worked out real good. So anyway, that's just a neat little variation on a stump, and we'll get on to the next one. Okay, here we have a nice walnut stump, and take a good look at this. We cut this tree a year ago. It had a big tear in the side from some storm damage, and in 1 year it grew up to here. Let's see if you can see that. No, I can't see that. In 1 year, this tree grew up to here. Last year after we cut it, and this year, golly, it's getting up close to 2 feet. It had a bunch of sprouts, and that's what, you know, root systems on a young vigorous tree have a lot of power in them, and it put up, you can see it put up all this. I cut a whole bunch of sprouts off. I kept the best sprout, and if I want to, I've got another walnut tree there, and I'm not sure I want a walnut tree there, but I got the option now. So that's a good thing to remember. If you have to cut a tree down in your yard and you hate to lose that tree, you know, maybe that tree's going to come back if you give it a chance. And right up the way there, that's a cedar stump. We left it up there where it makes a nice seat. You can come out there and drink a cup of coffee in the morning and enjoy the morning breezes. And we'll go over here and take a look at another stump. Here, yeah. Now we've got a couple stumps. There's pin oak in front, and that tree had major problems in it, so it wasn't safe to leave here in the yard, so we took it down. And that's been like 6 or 8 years ago, and look how that thing's rotted. Pin oak really rots fast. And we put a slope on that so it would drain off and maybe last a few more years as a seat here along the driveway. And it just went into rot right away, so we never sat on it. It hadn't been a good place to sit. The tree behind it is a black cherry, and that tree was a hollow mess of a tree, and that's been 20 years since we cut that thing down. And cherry does not rot fast. It's very slow. The reason we didn't cut that stump down more is because it has fence wire in it, and I didn't want to get into that. So it's gradually disappearing, and the skunks love it. You can see the color of the cherry wood in there, but it's very rotten. But skunks love this thing. You see a hole there where a skunk's been visiting this at night and digging around for grubs. You see fresh digs on it every few days. And it's just about where we can knock it out. And I'm not really too worried about a skunk feeding, so I think I could just about knock it out with the loader right now. We're going to go over here and look at a black locust. We cut this black locust a couple years ago, and what I did with this one, I left that stump high enough that we would not run over it with the mower. Locust is hard, there's no give in that stump at all, and I left that high enough the mower won't run over it. And what we've found is you cut a stump down where you can get the mower over it. You know, it's a struggle to get down low enough without getting in the dirt. And you cut it down low enough so the mower can run over it. And in a couple of years, that stump is up hitting the mower blade. And it kind of loosens up and rises out of the ground a bit. So I don't even try to do that. I cut it off where I won't run over it. In a couple of years, I can come back. I think I can cut that one off now. And we've got one over here we've done that with. I can find it here in the viewfinder. There it is. Yeah, see, there's one there. Cut that tree several years ago, let it sit a few years, and came back and whacked it. And now the mower can run over that, and I think we're safe there. But the trick is not getting that chain in the dirt. You don't want to do that, because you'll dull every tooth on it if you do that. So anyway, I just kind of lived with the stumps for a while, and like this walnut over here, it's a free tree. It comes back. It's a good tree if you want it. So anyway, thank you for visiting, and we will catch you all later.